Well. It would never go beyond 100,000. Bitcoin would never do this. It would never do that. It's just so sad to watch, or is it? Why wouldn't you want a cheaper Bitcoin? You know? Yeah, we've had word that good old Larry Fink's clients, not BlackRock, just to put that into perspective. BlackRock doesn't do the selling. It's clients of the ETF that are doing the selling. We've just had quite a bit of Bitcoin deposited into Coinbase Prime, okay? And it does kind of give us a little bit of could be a little bit of a problem for us. But looking at the way the Nasdaq's behaving, given that it has seen a nice little move up to only pare back those gains, what's Monday going to be like? Well, hold on a second. Before we get into price action and breaking down everything, what's going on? How are we all doing? So, listen. Today's live stream, I'm going to be focusing on a few things. First things first, we've got non-farm payrolls data coming out on Thursday. I mean, let's be honest, it has been way overdue. So I'm going to be talking about that and letting you guys know what you need to be mindful of with regards to the data that is released on Thursday. This week, we've got NVIDIA earnings. Tariffs. Trump cutting the prices or cutting the tariffs on over 200 products, coffees, bananas. I mean, coffee, man, come on. Coffee prices have like shot up nearly 40%. You know, I used to buy my coffee and it used to cost me £2.50. Now it's costing me nearly £6. How does that make sense? I understand if I bought 2.5 cups, but come on, for one. I don't get no funky cup of coffee either. I'm like with the creams and forget that. It's 3 espresso shots. That's it. 3 shots of coffee for £6. Anyways, what else are we going to talk about today? Japan. Good old Japan, eh? No one's paying attention to it, man, but they're giving you the signs. They're telling you the carry is going to get reset. Going to be diving into that bad boy. We're going to look into the stock market and what's going on. Good old Warren Buffett has decided to put a stake in Google. Well, Alphabet. Why is he putting a stake in Google now? He's been sat on nearly $365 billion. Why all of a sudden is he getting involved in Google? Given that Google is trading at significant highs, maybe he's looking at the bigger picture. I mean, if you've got $365 billion in the bank, drawdown is not exactly a problem for you now, is it? And if it is, then how much Google position have you got for it to really hurt you? So we'll be talking about that very shortly. But we'll also be diving into the story of what's going on with Bitcoin. There are a lot of participants trying to take advantage of Bitcoin's move to the downside. It has lost the key 100K zone, and everyone's like, oh, this cycle is done. Did you not see Michael Saylor just stand up? Well, not stand up, but he was sat down in an interview and say, I don't even pay attention to the 4-year cycle anymore. It's pointless to me. That's coming from your boy. Your boy on the 4-year cycle doesn't even pay attention to it anymore. How mad is that? Well, I'm going to take claim. I said that the 4-year cycle has been in the bin for quite some time, but never mind. It's the only clout I want to give, but I'm joking. Anyways, let's break it all down, ladies and gentlemen. Give you guys everything that you need to know because it is an important week. And by the time you're done with this live, you're going to have everything that you need to know going into the trading week. So let's get with the party and understand that the biggest party is going to be happening on Thursday. Go and invite your friends. Tell your parents, tell your grandparents to come and watch the charts on Thursday because Thursday is going to be a wonderful bloodbath. And let me explain why it could be a bloodbath. Look, listen. We are only getting the data for September. We're not getting the bigger picture. We're not getting October data. The BLS, which is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they still need to wash that data and get it all organized. But so far, we're only getting September's reading. We're only going to get the unemployment data for September. We're only going to get the non-farm and the unemployment claims for September. So that's really important. But this data on Thursday is going to effectively nail it in the coffin. Are we going to get the interest rate cuts. Going into the Fed watch, you can see here that the bets are going up for the idea that they are more than likely going to hold going into December. That's not a good sign, but the market is actually pricing in the idea of that, which is why you're witnessing Bitcoin taking a little bit of a tumble. You got the NASDAQ pulling back a little bit. I mean, it's trading spot 16% minus spot 1615%. And you can see that we've got some vector candle recovery points right here. They've just taken the Asian session low after last night's madness of pumping price to the upside. So a lot of investors are like, oh, what's the story now? You know, if they're not cutting the rates, what's going to happen? Well, look, Thursday is going to put it into perspective for you. Now, here are the scenarios. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. If the non-farm payrolls data comes out and shows a soft reading, that's good news. Why? Because then investors can look at it and say, okay, that grants the idea of the Federal Reserve wanting to cut the interest rates because the reading of the labor market is soft. So it's not too bad, right? If the labor market data comes out and shows a horrible reading, that means there is a lot of people unemployed. There are loads of people going on the benefits, claiming the benefits. The actual unemployment rate itself has shot up. And then you've got the average hourly earnings sinking, okay? Because companies are not actually paying people. The JOLTS job openings report showing no one is actually offering work. Then that means that the economy is truly struggling. That means we're more than likely going to be going into a recession. That would need to show a reading in terms of the unemployment, or should I say the non-farm employment change. It would have to be negative 35, 40,000, 50,000. Anything that is negative and it's bad, then we've got a big problem. The reading at 22K that is being projected is effectively a soft reading, but anything minus and it's beyond 35 or 40,000, then that is a big problem for us. And the market participants won't be thinking about interest rate cuts. They'll be thinking about safety because they will believe that the market itself, or should I say the economy, is and more than likely will be heading into a recession. To put that into perspective, we're going to be paying attention to the beverage curve, because if this does show that in the next readings, starting to compress out. If we were looking at the live stream on Friday, you'll know that this was expanding a little bit in the sense where the red line was effectively below the blue line, and that's a bit of a problem. Now we're pretty much flat, okay? So what we really need to see is we need to see the blue line being lower and the red line being higher, meaning that the red line shows that there are more jobs being offered and the blue line means that there are less people out of work. And if we've got that scenario, then it means that we don't have to worry about the interest rates being high for any longer, because they will cut them because the economy is not struggling with high interest rates. But based on what analysts are putting out there, they believe that if we do get a surprise negative reading on the unemployment data, we're going to have a problem, which would then solidify the idea that the Fed will not want to cut the interest rates. And the bets are going up. I'm going to refresh this one more time to see if they've actually increased as we head into the market open. There you go. It's gone to 57.1. That is a problem. That's a problem. So they think, right, we're probably going to be staying at the 4% range. And that's no good for us. Let's look at other factors that could be coming into play as we head into the markets. This bad boy, he's chatting away. Good old governor has warned a panel of prolonged loose policy risks, and that runs a risk to the current inflation story that Japan has. They're telling you they're going to increase their interest rates. And the new prime minister of Japan, she doesn't care, man. She's already got it in with China, and there's a problem over there. And if she does encourage the idea of increasing interest rates, and she's got the good old Ueda who's saying we can't really sustain these yields that we're paying right now. If you go over to the Japanese yield itself, you can see that the Japanese yen is currently 1.7. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you now, they are going to increase the interest rates. They are going to, because the only way that they can encourage investors to buy the bonds is if you offer a higher rate of return. That's going to easily allow them to bring the yields down if there is an influx of investors picking up yen and going into the bond market to lock in a yield, thus bringing down the rate of the yield. They're going to do it, which is why I believe strongly that the Bank of Japan are going to increase their interest rates. And it's going to be, in my opinion, I think it's going to be by December. If they don't do it in December, most definitely going into the new year, they will increase their interest rates. They have to, because you've had too many cuts across Britain. You've had cuts across the euro. You've had cuts across with the US. Bank of Japan obviously do the flip side to that because their rates are so low. They are going to need to increase their rate. Just come check me when they increase their interest rates, because that's going to be a bit of a problem for the market. But could they all be getting ready for the unwind of the carry trade? Well, let's just look at the stock market. Going into Friday's close, you can see that NASDAQ ends losing streak, but Dow lags. That's a problem. Now, the exposure has been suggested that you need to effectively leave around 40 to 60% of your capital exposed to the stock market. We've got 4 distribution days on the NASDAQ, 6 on the S&P. When you start seeing distribution days rising on the NASDAQ and the S&P, it tells you that investors are starting to reposition themselves. Going into the order, or should I say the actual charts themselves, NASDAQ, you can see that over the last week, we have seen more distribution days coming into play with volume above average on the sell side, and they are trying their hardest to hold on to these key moving averages right here. So NASDAQ has a lot of work to do, but this week is probably going to be the deciding factor, because the good news is this. On Wednesday, we get NVIDIA earnings, okay? Wednesday is NVIDIA's earnings, and that's going to be after the close. If NVIDIA does not come through, ladies and gentlemen, everything's dropping. Simple as. Everything is going to drop, in my opinion. Going into NVIDIA's statistics, just to break it all down for you on where they are, looking at their quarterly earnings, you can see that we've got in the last 3 quarters at the bottom here, we have seen a bit of a deceleration that started, well, it started with acceleration from January 31st, 2025 quarter end, and it was at 71% earnings and 78% on sales, right? Going into the April quarter, you can see that it goes 33% on earnings and 69% on sales. So there's deceleration right there. Then as we go into the quarter end July, we can see that their earnings and their sales both increased back up again, but sales was less, but earnings was more, okay? We're starting to not see acceleration just yet. The next reading would need to show acceleration in their earnings and their sales, because if NVIDIA turn around and say that, yeah, you know, we're all right with everything, demand has slowed down a bit, our cloud services are doing wonderful. Well, Google's cloud services are doing great, which would explain why Mr. Buffett is exactly buying up those shares. It says here that he's invested, he's revealed a new stake in Google parent company, marking one of the conglomerate's most significant technology bets in years. Okay, so he's owned roughly around $4.3 billion worth of Alphabet from September 30th. That's his 13F filing, making it the firm's 10th largest equity holding. So we go over to Google's price itself, and you can see over here where we at with it. Google, it's gapping up a little bit. It's not doing too bad, but look, it's at all-time highs near enough, ladies and gentlemen. It's doing fantastic. We can't complain about Google. But my view is, if Buffett is buying up Google right now, then he's on the idea that there is a demand for a service, because quite frankly, people will only go into a company or invest or purchase the product if it solves a problem or makes life a little bit easier. Buffett is a value investor. And he's probably not interested in the tech market overvaluations right now, because principally this is an overvaluation. Google is really overvalued by the context of its price, okay? But Buffett's looking at it from a different perspective. They smashed it on their quarterly earnings for the services that they're providing, and cloud-based services is where it's at. So that's where Google's strength is. So Buffett is on the idea that, okay, we're in AI and what have you, cloud services, that's where everything's going. I'm going to invest in that idea because that doesn't look like it's slowing down. Naturally, he can absorb an idea of price going down again, but I think that NVIDIA will really mess up the market's narrative if it does not come through with its earnings, okay? And we're going into the idea of it right now. Where are we at? Come on, NVIDIA. Here we go. So NVIDIA, again, look, they're just stalling at their all-time high ranges. It's actually brilliant. Tech is so resilient right now with the idea that interest rates are going to be cut or not, all right? So Wednesday, in my opinion, is going to be the deciding factor, because if NVIDIA do really well, NVIDIA shooting up, then all of what you've seen on the NASDAQ right now has been engineered to come back up. They say that we are structurally in a really good bull market. So this is just distribution. The markets expand and they correct. All right. We're only going to know that's going to be the case if we do get a bit, if we do get a bit more assistance on the interest rates. Because if the interest rates do not get cut, your lovely Bitcoin, it's not really going to be going anywhere but lower. Speaking of which, there it is. BlackRock deposited 4,880 Bitcoin, right? Which is 467 million and 54,730 ETH to Coinbase Prime. I mean, they're violating Ethereum, man. You know? And it's quite sad, actually. Looking at it, you can see here that we've got 2 hours ago. There's your offload right there. Outflows, you know, you can see BlackRock clients, they are actually getting out of Bitcoin on the idea of maybe just deleveraging risk, okay? You've got participants that could be shorting Bitcoin on the futures markets and just taking off the risk here, okay? We don't know fully, but he's stepping in and buying it all up. So, technically, let's do a little bit of math here. Technically, Sailor's just bought double the price of what the ETF shares have sold on. So 4,880 Bitcoin has just come into the market. He's bought that twice. So technically Bitcoin's price should not be going down. If we look at it by that logic on the idea that this coin has a supply. So why is Bitcoin dropping? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's because they're buying it. That's why. Look at it. We've had quite a bit of interest coming into play with the bids. Right, we had just a few more bids coming into play right now. We've got a few more interesting bids coming in. Looking at the previous transactions, you had 14 million right there. And we had a big one earlier on. I think it was about 35 million on the move to the downside. 10 million right there. 11. Where was it? There we go. $40 million worth of Bitcoin picked up at 98K. Okay. And the range that we've got in front of us is, the problem we've got is we don't really have that many offers coming in just yet. But the market is not fully open just yet, okay? Because the market has got to get used to the idea that we are going to get data this week. So there will be an initial reaction from the marketplace. Where I'm expecting liquidity to go to, again, you've got Alphabet, quantum computing computers, lithium producers. We've been speaking about these bad boys for quite some time, ladies and gentlemen, you know? So it's been pretty interesting to see how that's going to be coming into play when we go into the open. But going over to Bitcoin's price action on the daily, you can see that it's broken the 5 and 13 EMA. It's continuously trading away from that point. We are on a trajectory to the downside. 1 day of positive price action does not solidify the idea that the bear market is done or the bull market is about to begin. We've got the data that comes out this week on Thursday. That's going to tell us if interest rates are going to get cut or not. If they do not get cut and the data is really bad, strong chances are Bitcoin could be going lower and aiming towards this green vector candle region that we have got, which is another area of support that we could assume that there's going to be interest for those traders to come in and pick Bitcoin up on bid side. All right. You've got to understand, if you've got a participant that's buying Bitcoin in the millions, then a 10K range, okay, or not even a 10K, like 8K range or so, is not really going to impact that participant. You're buying $35 million worth of Bitcoin. You think you're bothered about a drawdown? You're not really, are you? Especially when you're on spot, you can absorb it. But this would be, in my opinion, the next spot of interest for Bitcoin if we get to Thursday and we don't get the data that we want for the interest rates. In my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have a problem if the Bank of Japan do decide to cut their or increase their interest rates. Like I said, if the dollar dominance shoots up even more, then Bank of Japan are going to be forced to start buying dollars. They are. Because people are devaluing the yen. They're taking it because the rates are low. That's going to then put the yen in a situation where they're going to have to be forced to buy dollars to bring down the value of the yen against the dollar. It serves countries when the dollar is lower, but it doesn't serve Japan if the dollar is higher. And the dollar is marking up. And that's a bit of a problem, especially with dollar yen currently trading at, 154.91. All right, this is Forex intervention. This is the range that it gets to. where Bank of Japan say, sorry, we can't allow that. Let's go and dump a load of dollars into the market by purchasing dollars and then thus inflating the value of our yen. Well, yen's going down. It's been on a trajectory to the downside. And the inflation problems in Japan are going to be a problem. Why am I telling you about this? Because the last time the interest rate was increased by the Japanese, your Bitcoin slumped and the stock market slumped. And if we're pulling away from the all-time highs and we're starting to see momentum developing, that's going to be another nail in the coffin for the market to bring it down even lower, okay? Buffett hasn't been buying anything. Then all of a sudden he's buying up now and he's just taken a stake in Google, right? So we could be seeing money coming back into the marketplace, but we just needed to pull back a little bit more. Data coming out from the from the BLS regarding the employment market is going to be one major factor that's going to bring everything back up again or not. You've got Nvidia earnings that are going to be coming into play. You've got Target earnings and Walmart earnings that are going to be released, which is going to tell us how healthy the consumer is. Are they concerned about the price of eggs? Are they concerned about the price of coffee, given that they've increased nearly 40%, or coffee in particular? You've got many things that are happening this week that could really mess up the idea of the market. And it's all being triggered off macro data that we haven't been getting. In other words, the markets have been trading blind. Thursday is going to be the day that tells us where we are with interest rates. Because if we can achieve the interest rate cut, and the Fed speakers today, be mindful, we've got Fed speakers talking today, and they're going to be telling us, yeah, we were reluctant to cut the interest rates last week or last time. We didn't really want it to happen. They all changed their bloody tone when they said the US government was shut and they were not going to get their data. Now they're all saying that, yeah, we should have kept it as it was. We shouldn't have cut. They were humming and ahhing about the whole situation. But the only way that we can identify where we are with the interest rates is to go over to gold's price. Gold right now is pulling back. It's formed this little M formation, okay? Now, if they expect interest rates to get cut, gold will go back up. My projection for gold is still 4.5K going over to around $5,000. I expect it to be that. I've even seen price projections for a $6,000 gold by 2026. That is not too far away. And given the volatility of the marketplace, how things change all the time, that's nothing for gold to take. I mean, let's just compare it in terms of its average range. I mean, 50% increase from there. I mean, what did it do in a short period of time? I mean, let's just have a look at that for a second. How long did it take gold to go from this low to this high? So from the 22nd, let's say from August to October, 2 months, it nearly did that. Come on, man. And they're talking about 2026. And they're basing it on the assumption that interest rates are going to get cut. What if they don't get cut? What are they looking like in January? They think they're going to get cut in January. Bets are coming in at 48.2. But there's still interest at 35.6 that they think they're probably going to stay the same in January. So when does it actually adjust? Going into March, 3.5, 3.75%, 42.8. You still got 20.3% of traders believing that they're going to keep the rates the same. So by March, we're going to see the interest rates potentially be 3.5, 3.75%. Okay? It's a couple of quarters, ladies and gentlemen, going into it as such. So we're going to have more companies having to get used to the idea of money being more expensive. Okay? There's no real clear path. But it's going to be revealed on the 10th of December. That, for me, is going to be the time where the market is going to know for sure if we are going to get the rate cuts. Because if we don't, everything's going down. Dollar will then start to go back up again because they'll be seeking the safe haven of the dollar going into the bonds market because they want to lock in the yields because they're going to stay at that level. So they're going to want to make sure that they lock in at that level so that if the prospects of interest rates being cut in the future come into play, then they've already locked in higher yields at this point in time. Does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen? Do we have any questions? I doubt we get 70K by Friday. 70K by Friday. Listen, you can't, I know that, yeah, the market can be a little bit frustrating, but the thing that you've got to take into consideration, right, is, Tino, really quickly, can you explain what a break of structure is? Oh, God. Okay. break of structure could be depending on what you deem as a break of structure. So as an example, this right here is a break of structure in the sense where this range has broken this structure because structurally speaking, this was a progressive move to the upside. And as long as it stays above that range there, then we're on the assumption that the structure is favoring higher prices, but it broke it from that point. Okay. You could also have this as a break of structure right here. You've got this little candlestick range right here, right there. If it breaks it, it's a break of structure. Retrace continuation, confirming the break of structure again. Then you've got another break of structure right here. And then you've got another break of structure. Here's break of structures all over the flipping place. Yeah. Here we go. By which price point do you think Saylor would be forced to sell at a loss to see if Bitcoin were to drop a lot? I'd say it would be about, no, he even said it. He said it, even if Bitcoin was going to go to 1 cent, it wouldn't matter because apparently they've got the cash to cover it. But look, you're buying $835 million worth of Bitcoin, convertibles and what have you, you know? I mean, if we just go and have a look at MicroStrategy's share price right now, I mean, it is a little bit of a pain in the backside. Just looking at it, we're seeing 11% in sales because of their analytics platform, and their earnings are 640% because of their Bitcoin holdings, not because of the company itself, but they're just selling the stock. People are coming out of it. They may be starting to cotton on to the idea that this guy is just using their cash to buy the Bitcoin, okay? And investors are like, I want to see a return in the rate of it, but come on, man, look at you. And then we go into the details, and you can see that the company itself has 39% debt, all right? You've got 1,495 funds playing this. That is a lot of liquidity in a stock that doesn't move based on its fundamentals. It's moving based on, or it's being bought based on the idea of its Bitcoin holdings. So as long as Bitcoin sustains its price to the upside, that's going to keep the faith installed into these guys playing this stock. But 31% of the funds, 31% of the stock is being played by funds. So that is an impressionable amount of investors, okay, that hold this stock. That means if they start offloading on strategy shares, that's going to create an idea that, oh my God, it's not looking good. And then people will then start to believe that Bitcoin's price will need to go down now, all right? When Bitcoin is more valuable than what MicroStrategy is. And that's the MNAV, and it's a bit of a problem, you know? Tino, how do you know when they've cleared a block, or is the market memory always active? The market memory is always active, ladies and gentlemen. What I've been doing lately is I have been doing something that I think you all will enjoy if you get involved with it. But I will show you right now what I have been up to over the weekend. So, wait there. I'm going to show you now. Here we go. So, over the weekend, in the members section, I've got these masterclass sessions, okay? And the masterclass sessions is where the context of all of the hybrid system is based, okay? There are 84 sessions right here. And to be frank with you, if you weren't in the masterclass session at the time that it was done, it would be a lot. It's very time consuming to sit through them all, okay? But it was for the beginning. That's where the longer live streams were, because they were all live streams, all right? But what I've done now is I've selected specific masterclass sessions and I've turned them into a whiteboard session, all right? Where it's focused. There's no music in the background. You'll see my face. You've got the whiteboard and what have you. It's a very concentrated learning session. So the one that I've just done recently is the block trade principle. And I dive into that with the whiteboard session. And very soon, you're going to have a revamp of all the context of the masterclass sessions done on the whiteboard. Some of them I'm not able to do. Like, for example, there's one where you're talking about, we're having Q&A. So there's 2 masterclass sessions right there that we don't need to talk about because they were just a Q&A. Okay. And like reading candlesticks, that's one that I can do. Big rise, big drop. And that's breaking things down. The range daily low, range daily high, and all of that. Those are masterclass sessions that I've done redone with the actual whiteboard, but it's an interactive thing, and it gets straight to the point and helps you learn it in a shorter period of time. Usual average masterclass session is about an hour long. These new masterclass sessions, max, the longest one was the psychological level. Okay, that was nearly an hour, but the rest of them, we're talking 15 minutes tops. So that's something that's going to be coming very, very soon so that you can digest that information. And it's, in my opinion, I think you're going to learn it a little bit more easier rather than just looking at a chart all the time. All right. So that's something that's going to be coming into play very, very soon. Anything else, ladies and gentlemen? I feel lucky to have found this channel. This is the only channel that actually answers the question why behind things. No hype, just reality. Solid education. It's transformed me as a trader. Fake and... okay, I won't... Yeah, okay. Mad love to you, bro. Mad love to you. Mad love to you. Yeah, there's a lot of fat that can get trimmed. Tino, should we wait a little bit for stocks you recommend? QBTS, SML, Circle? Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, let me explain something to you. There are two cycles that happen in the market, expansion, contraction, right? When you've got expansionary phase, look at the interest rates. Are they high? Are they low? We've had an expansionary phase on high interest rates with the idea that the market was anticipating interest rates are going to get cut, okay? But the only reason we had this expansion because of the fuel behind the AI market, all right? So if you're an investor, please take this into consideration. Now that we are going into a easing cycle, which technically starts on the 1st of December, right? The idea is that interest rates in the future are going to get cut. We're making that assumption. That means the cost of doing business is going to come down. So what needs to happen is, in order for them to actually get adjusted to that, the markets need to contract. If the labor market details come out and it shows that we've got a problem, a real problem in the stock market, in the labor market, then investors are going to pull their risk. What's taken a long time to get to in terms of price action going to the upside, they're wiping it off within 2-3 days, okay? So all you've got to do is absorb the idea that everything is pulling back because economically speaking, since the tariffs, that has caused a little bit of an issue. Why were we able to sustain ourselves? Good old Bitcoin. Why were we able to sustain ourselves at high interest rates? Because the pricing of goods was all good and we could work with that. But then Trump's come along and increased it even more. So that's now put a strain. So if it wasn't for the tariffs, we wouldn't be getting the rate cuts. Think about it. But then we've got the problem of inflation. That's the issue. So we're waiting for an expansionary phase to come to an end, to go into a short contractionary phase, prices go down, to prepare everything to go back up. I want the NASDAQ to crash. Because over the last 150 years, every time the stock market crashes, it recovers 100% of the time. So just buy and hold. That's all it is. That's all it is. It recovers 100% of the time. Wall Street crash, recovered it. Subprime mortgage crisis, recovered it. 2018 crash, recovered it. COVID, recovered it. When do they never recover from a crash? It will never happen. Why? Because people will always look for optimism. They are always investing in companies doing bigger and better. If companies stop doing business and the stock market doesn't get any investors because no one's doing anything with business, then your markets are going to go down. There's nothing to invest in. There's no future value that could be generated. When the idea of the prospect of value being higher in the future based on a company investing or purchasing or offering a certain service, then investors can come along and be like, I like that. I'll take a bit of that cake. Thank you very much. Exactly what good old Buffett has done. Speaking of which, let's just go and have a look at what's going on with the Bitcoin. Very good. I like this flavor. Oh, NASDAQ, you absolute beast. Look at you, like a flipping nut job. What a guy. Come on. Oh, Solange. Oh, Ethereum. Have the day off. Listen, you're not going to get much with Euro. I am sick of trying to project Euro. It just doesn't do shit. It doesn't. I hate it so much. I don't like it anymore. What's gold doing? I need to look at gold. Thank you very much, gold. I'm happy about that. NASDAQ doing something nice. That's good. Nice little sweep of the Asian session low. That's happy days. But Bitcoin. Oh, go on, my son. Everyone on X was like, oh no, it's going to crash. But they've been buying it, ladies and gentlemen. They need it to go back up to sell it. Yeah, I did mean that. Yes, can we look at Circle, please? Right, listen, Circle. Everyone's like, oh, that aged well. For God's sake, get out of the markets if you can't absorb a pullback. This thing is getting cheap. Okay, it's getting cheap. It's new, right? Long term. When someone says this is a long term play, okay, and long term to you is 15 minutes or a week, all right, please get out of the market. You're going to get violated, my friend, completely violated. This is going to be cheap. It's going to stay a little bit cheap, but this is going to shoot up. It's going to shoot up. It really is, all right? It can go down as low as $60. It doesn't matter. Accumulate more. That's what I believe what's going on here. Because if interest rates are not going to get cut, we could be in a bit of an interesting story. That is favorable for Circle. I bet you they start becoming a bit more aggressive when they know the interest rates aren't going to get cut. This will get aggressive in the sense where they'll start doing things to encourage the utility of their coin being utilized. All right? So just keep an eye out on Circle, man. That's all I'm saying. Oh, Bitcoin. Wonderful. Wonderful. That's not true Bitcoin price. There we go. Wow. Wow. Platinum members, you should have been paid out if you took it, right? Because it's just completely ripped. Completely. Take some profits. Take something. Because NASDAQ's doing the flavor. They're flushing the shorts. Probably. Yeah. They probably are. Tino, what do you think the best asset? What do you think is the best asset to start with? Elaborate on that, my friend. Start with in what sense? XRP is the only stable coin I own. True, yeah. It is the only stable coin that I own too. It's up 3.9. Oh, wow. That's a little bit of an anomaly. Oh, there's been a depeg. That's what's going on. XRP is just depegged from USDT. Oof. Oh, my days. Oh, it missed it by just a fraction. Just a fraction. I was talking about this in the Market Watch yesterday. That we are at psychological levels right now for USDT. Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, Bitcoin doing really well to avoid sweeping the Asian session low. That's really good. Seriously, Nirvana. Why? What did Nirvana say? Mark, ADA is my favorite NFT. Okay. What do you think the best asset is to start with? Is XRP good to invest in? Chat, can you educate this guy? Please educate this guy on whether XRP is a good investment to start off with. Please educate him. That's just stressing me out. Please educate the guy. Excuse me. I needed that drink. My days. XRP is a good investment for retirement. Retirement? The point is to be able to sell it to go into retirement, not hold it till retirement. For God's sake. If you hate yourself, that's so sad. Can you look at gold? Come on, give me your assets. What do you want me to look at? I'm going to give you 5 minutes of it. 5 minutes of assets, and I'm going to pull out random assets. Blow up the chat. Wait a second. Got 1,400 of you. Don't be lazy, man. Come on. 346 likes. That's so dead. Come on. Now, excuse me. I'll take that back. Just if you do enjoy today's context, please like. And if you do fancy it, subscribe. If you like the bald head, subscribe. If you don't like the bald head, like. All right, here we go. So gold, it's like I said, it is an asset that is going to be subject to changes in interest rates. I don't really expect it to do too much up until the actual non-farm payrolls data comes into play. If you're going to be playing gold this week, guys, you're going to be stuck in a little bit of a range. You really are. Because unless something significant comes out from the Fed speakers today suggesting that we want to cut, then gold's not going to be going anywhere but down. If they say we're not going to cut, gold's going down. If the idea of the economy's data is really bad, gold would then go up because they need to protect themselves, because that's what investors do. They go to commodities during times of economic uncertainty, okay? So wait till Thursday. If you can't wait till Thursday, you're not... The move that you're going to be looking for from now till Thursday won't happen until Thursday. So what are you going to try and grab? And obviously with me saying that, gold's going to just flip and shift to the upside. Anyways, what have we got here? ES. Yes, I'll have a look at ES for you. The S&P. Now, of course, remember, the S&P itself carries way more volume than what the NASDAQ does. Doesn't really travel too aggressively in comparison to the NASDAQ, because the NASDAQ is just a wonderful nut job. I love this asset. It increases my blood pressure, causes me to just, lose my mind. It's crack for traders. It's a widow maker. It is just the best asset. And it's the only thing that can really frustrate me in my day-to-day. It's the only thing that winds me up. Frankly, it pisses me off. But it's such a brutal asset. And the truth of it is this. You will learn so much more about trading when you focus on NASDAQ from the beginning. That is really bad for me to say this. That's worse than me shilling coins to you. Okay, because new people will go to NASDAQ and they're going to get slapped about, which will then make you appreciate why you should trade the S&P. Last night, I looked at the market, and when NASDAQ was pumping up, for every 5-6 ticks NASDAQ was moving up, the S&P was taking its time and going up too, okay? So with the S&P, you can put down size, but the NASDAQ, you can't put down size unless you do have an account that can absorb it. So if I was trading in NASDAQ, when I'm trading on my personal account, I start off with 3 contracts on the NASDAQ, as in the minis, okay? I can scale that to about 35, 40 contracts if NASDAQ behaves itself. If it keeps going up, okay, I can scale in and add 2 contracts, 2 contracts, 2 contracts, all right? But I would never open up contracts at the start of a trade with like 30, 40 contracts. I wouldn't do it. And the only reason for that is because NASDAQ is just so temperamental. It just moves so aggressively for my style of trading, right? I'm always looking to grab NASDAQ at key turning points where we're at the value area low and we're at the lows of the depth of market. That's where price can continue to be lower and before it can make a reversal. So just be very careful with it when you're learning to trade with NASDAQ, because once you start your learning on NASDAQ, life will be much easier for you when you trade the S&P itself, okay? NVIDIA. We've looked at NVIDIA. Zcash. Okay. I'm telling you, man, why are people shorting this? Doesn't make sense. It's not making sense. Do not short this coin yet. It's not ready yet. It's doing so well. Look at that. Friday night just went up, then it continued to go up. Like, let's be honest now. How many of you are actually shorting this? Who's daring to short this? But I'm talking shorting it for a while. Who is going to short this? Just be careful with it, man. It's not going anywhere purely off the basis of its privacy. The sooner regulation comes into crypto, the higher this coin goes. Really. You don't want regulation. You really don't. Cipher and applied. Okay. Cipher. Cipher, as in cipher mining. Come on. What are you doing? There you go. Yeah, this is a beast. This is a monster. Average daily volumes of 5.5 million shares, 53 million shares. Like you can't mess with that for a cryptocurrency based stock like that. Increase in the earning of the fund ownership. 327 funds are playing this right now. Nasdaq still going. APLD. Applied Digital, big. Okay, so everything's pulling back. Okay, operates next generation data center computer power to blockchain infrastructure and supports Bitcoin mining. Okay, increasing in their fund ownership. 36% of funds play funds play 36% of the stock's float as such. Management holds 8%. They've got 136% debt, which is a problem as a digital company because they're borrowing money. And if the rates stay high for longer, that is naturally going to be a bit of a problem towards their cash flow as such, because that can really hurt them. But as long as the volume keeps coming in and there is favor for this company, then we can assume that they're going to be okay. I mean, their quarterly earnings aren't looking so great, where if they just come out of it, and we saw an increase of 79% and 41% on the earnings and sales, but we did see a minus reading on the earnings of minus 200%. So it may have been that they've sold something or they've had to pay for something, but look how much volume came into play on that earnings result, because the sales was high. So as long as there's sales, it means there's interest. So that's something that they can obviously absorb later on in the future. It's not a problem. If there's demand for a stock, okay, and people are buying it, and not buying it, but buying the service the stock provides, then whatever negative reading you get in the earnings, okay, it's going to just be off-winded and they're not going to care about it because they are selling. And that fundamentally is what you need, okay? Whoa, slow down. Red candle, green candle formation, ladies and gentlemen. Those who know, they know. What about Asta? Okay, it's better than mine. Yeah, okay. Asta is better in terms of privacy. I get that. And that is also trading well. I mean, look, this would be, in my opinion, the cheaper version of Zcash. All right? Just be careful. Just be careful with it. All right? It's not long ago, been listed on PancakeSwap. It's coming back. Yeah, this is coming back to the wick. You heard it here. You heard it here first. It's going to come back to the wick. All right? It's going to come back to this wick. It's going to go into that. Starting, okay? So just be very careful. That's it. T-Rex, can you explain why you don't see any potential investing in XRP? Chat, can you just sort this guy out, please? He's obviously a new guy, but can you please explain to this guy why we don't see any potential in investing in XRP? As much as I would love to see potential coming into play with XRP, when they've had so many partnerships, so many business deals, so many use cases for that coin to go up and it goes sideways, what do you want me to do? Sit there and tell you to buy it? No, I would not. It's a waste of... You want my honest opinion? Invest in USDT. You'll get more volatility in that, bro. You really will. I'm being serious. You're getting 5.73% on yield on that, right? Do not waste your time buying XRP. I'm serious. Leave it to me. Shit. For the first time in a long time, we had a Sunday dump, so maybe the time we'll have a green wick. Hey, Tino, can you check out BGB? Is that next BNB? I'm doing a short video tonight, by the way. I'm making this live stream a little bit long for you all, just to sit with you with the open itself. What's BGB, USD spot? The next BNB? Doesn't look like it's the next BNB. I mean, it is getting smacked, but okay. Like, you know, you've got this wick's a problem for me. Let me just go over to it. Bitcoin's pulling back ever so slightly. The NASDAQ seems to just trail to the upside. It's not bloody stopping. This is why I'm saying to you, man, you're trading in NASDAQ, obviously. Pin to the top of the chat. If you can't trade NASDAQ on certain exchanges, pin to the top of the chat is a place where you can trade NASDAQ, tech stocks, and all of that, and crypto and Forex at the same time on BTCC. So go check that out if you want to do that. Okay. And if you join with the Traders Reality Code, you get this, you get a 10% bonus and what have you. But great for anyone that doesn't want to use KYC, and you don't need a VPN for it if you're in the States per se. How dare you shill USDT over XRP? I'm the only guy that shilled USDT over XRP. Come on, Bitcoin. What you got for me? Make the move. Come on, NASDAQ, you wonderful child. Look at you. Just going for it. Absolutely brilliant, man. I just love how that asset moves. Tina, I put my life savings in XRP. Well, if you can say that XRP is going to save your life, then keep a hold of it. But it doesn't look like you're going to be getting that, my friend. What do you think about Boris Short he placed on some bets on Nvidia and Palantir? Quite frankly, he's making bold moves purely on the idea that everything is overvalued. We understand also that it's money in AI is just being circulating. That's all it is. OpenAI is invested in, so Nvidia's giving OpenAI $10 billion as an investment, and then OpenAI wants to buy $10 billion worth of stock or of products from Nvidia. Nvidia then advertises that and says, oh, look, we've got great earnings. We've just sold lots of this stuff. Okay, so it's a way to cook the books, and maybe Boris is starting to cotton on to that idea of it. Okay, but that's just Boris. Okay. When you've got the market just going crazy for the marketplace, and if Nvidia does come through with its earnings and it's brilliant in their outlook, Boris Short is going to be struggling. It really would, because you can't offset the demand of investors. You can't. If they feel like they're missing out on something, all right? If Boris goes short and then you see Nvidia's price action going up and up and up, he's the one that's going to be struggling, and everyone else is just going to go crazy that they're missing out on something, all right? And that's going to force Nvidia to go up even higher. So then maybe Nvidia will then come back down, but it will be too high for it to come back down to the point that Boris would effectively need it to be to make a nice return. So that's it. Chill. The gold-silver ratio. Your last few calls for a week or so in advance have been good on Bitcoin. What would you think the next few weeks if you had to make a call? Finger in the air, I guess. Finger in the air. If you want to know what Bitcoin's going to do in the next week or so, okay, you have to promise yourself that you don't take any trades until Thursday. That's the truth. Interest rates going to get cut, Bitcoin goes up. If they're not, Bitcoin's going to go down. And Bitcoin, in my opinion, needs to go down. It has to come down. I need it to come down. I don't want it to go up yet. It's not ready to go up yet. Macroeconomically speaking, it's not ready to go up yet because the cost of money is not there just yet. When the majority of participants are stuck in this ETF, and you got nearly 790,000 participants or contracts of the ETF, tells you that your Bitcoin stack is in there, filled with investors from Wall Street, okay? It's filled with investors with Wall Street. So Wall Street will do what Wall Street will always do. If the cost of doing business is too much, they're not going to be putting it to work. Seriously, they won't. Once you know where we are with the interest rates, and we can say that, oh, going into the next FOMC, we're expecting them to cut anyway. We're expecting them to cut. We have had that all up until the point when we had the interest rates at 4.5%, okay? We had that. That's why the markets have been rallying. But now we've come to a standstill where there's a possibility that we might not actually cut the interest rates anymore. That's what's causing the market to pull back. And any retraces back up are very short-winded, okay? Wait till Thursday. Thursday is going to reveal exactly what you need to understand whether you should be buying Bitcoin or not. That's my honest opinion, okay? Tino, how do you know how deep a W formation can go? It's on the basis of the cycle. W formation, rise, retrace level 1, retrace level 2, retrace level 3, peak formation, okay? How deep a W formation can go? Well, you have to wait until it forms the first and the second leg. So if the first leg keeps on going down, 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 you are effectively looking for, in this area here, you're looking for Bitcoin. If you were to mark it off, you are looking for Bitcoin to start retracing back up. Once you see the retrace, that's when you start looking for the peak. That's the peak where you say, okay, I'm going to sit and wait. I'm not going to be buying it. Okay. Then when it starts to come back down again, as long as it stays within this range, Okay? As long as it stays within that zone, you can make the assumption that the W formation is ready to start completing the final stage, which is the shifting out of the zone. Okay? And if it can do that, you've got yourself a W. So waiting until the first peak of the W formation forms, which means price then retraces back up, finds a bit of resistance, could be at a moving average, okay? That's when you say, okay, the first leg looks like it's been established. Now I've got to wait for the second leg. If the second leg gets established above the first leg of the W, happy days, then we're going to the upside. What do we need to see? Green vector candles appearing inside of this range, which is the idea of them getting out of this zone to protect their positions and then start going off for the liquidity to the upside, which is why I say to you, Bitcoin is going to come back to this area right here. It's just not ready yet. It's not ready for it. Okay? Tino, Nokia is up over 200% since March. Oh, man, I know. Tino, Wall Street is up in Bitcoin again. Did they accidentally press sell all when trying to reboot Excel? Hi, Tino. Is this a dump or is this Bitcoin just stretching its hammies before the real sprint? Look, I've seen people say this, right? Bitcoin creates a red vector candle on the 1 minute time frame. That one right there. Bitcoin is dumping. Oh, my God. Bitcoin is dumping. Not a dump. Let's be honest now. It's not a dump. It's a passive. I'm not even going to get into it, but it's just a drop. Okay. It's a small move. You expect that from Bitcoin. Bitcoin dropping from 100K down to 94. That is a dump. It's a $5,000 move nearly. Right? That's a problem. Bitcoin dropping down to 88 is an even bigger problem for the person who's selling it. Really is. Because that could be an easy reversal point for Bitcoin. Does it mean it's going to claim its all-time high straight away from that? Maybe not. But if you get Bitcoin at 88 and it shoots up to 110, tell me why you ain't laughing. And if you still hold on to it and then it goes back down to 90,000, then you need a slap across the face if you're not banking profits. Obviously, depending on the type of trader that you are and the type of holder that you are, it's going to reveal whether or not you are going to make a bit of cash. But Bitcoin now is pulling back. It's a sad story, but what can I say to you? With that being said, guys, mad love and respect. Hope you've enjoyed today's live stream, and I'll be tuning into you all later on. Hit the like, subscribe. It's free to do. Do it, man. Come on, man. 580 of you have liked the stream. That's so dead. Anyways, peace.